not sure if this is filming, that's why I'm behaving like a... Okay, well, we'll just go anyways. Today I want to talk a little bit about spiritual techniques. And the reason I want to do this is because I received a nice probing email from a patron and a supporter of this channel, Zen Confidential, asking a question about practice that reminded me of one of the stages you go through when you're undertaking spiritual work in a more serious way. You start grabbing for things, techniques, tools, principles. You're looking for something that will work. Let's take a look at this email from my friend. When I was in college, back when you had to take liberal arts electives, humanities courses, that's not the case anymore. Now college is like a 4-year unpaid internship that costs you close to $500,000, where you learn a trade that can make you a wage slave of a corporation. I'm sorry, anyways, as I was saying, I had a history teacher in college who was from Texas. He was about as good an old boy as good old boys get. And every day he would come up to class and he wore this suit, and it looked like it was made in 1842, and he had a vest on, and he had a bolo tie, and he had one of them hairdos that looked like it came down like this, and he'd wash it over this way, and he'd swoop it up over the top, and it all came together probably pretty good under his 10-gallon cowboy hat. And he would approach the class every day and he would say, "Now, friends, let's practice history for fun and profit. Let's practice Zen for fun and profit." I'm going to read you the email from my friend here, my patron. He says, I'll skip around a little bit. He says, "Hey, sensei," which is a respectful way of saying dude. "Love your videos, enjoy watching them. Thanks for all the work you put into them." I appreciate that. Okay. I saw on one of your videos you mentioned a Japanese Zen teacher that talked about how you can bring your attention to your stomach area as a way to get your focus out of your head/thoughts. He's read the same thing from Tangen Harada Roshi. "I sat sesshin at a Zen center. It's a fine institution, and utilizing this technique, I found quite a bit of success." So, putting your attention into the stomach area. Okay, so I was going to discuss this in a second. I'll discuss it now. What he means by stomach area is the hara, the hara or the tanden. So this is your breathing center. It is typically spoken of as being a space that is about an inch below, and an inch behind your belly button. Okay, and there's a way to breathe into the tanden and the hara. It is more and less emphasized in different branches of Zen, schools of Zen, and then depending on the teacher that you have. So he's not saying you're like breathing into your stomach. I just want to say that right away because when you start to do that, breathe into your stomach, you're going to get stomach aches, okay? This happens all the time. People will email me all the time about having digestive stomach issues when they're putting their focus into their guts. That's not really what we're talking about. So Google hara if you want to know more about hara. That's not what this video is about. The point is, my patron is doing a type of practice that sounds like it's breathing into the hara or the tanden, okay? And he's found success with it. And he says, "As I dig a little deeper into this, however, it seems like I can take it a step further. And instead of keeping my focus in my stomach, I'm able to do more of a complete letting go of thoughts, or thinking not thinking, or I could say opening the hand of thought. When my attention is in this stomach area, I'm going to call it the hara. When my attention is in the hara, I can tell that my mind is still racing because there is a lot of tension still in my stomach, which is actually an indication that his attention is not fully in the hara if he is separate from the activity of breathing. So if he can tell that there's tension in there, he's engaging in a somewhat dualistic relationship with his body in that moment, and we're in a situation that's slightly problematic. Okay, moving on. But I notice if I just kind of let go, the tension goes away from my stomach area. Okay. So I'm having a slight conflict here, as I'm not sure if I should be trying to keep my focus in my stomach area or try to cultivate this feeling of letting go. So do you get the point there? He's working on his practice, and he's getting some stuff down at these retreats he's going to, at the Zen center that's helping him. And he's got a technique, putting his attention into the stomach area, trying to put it into the hara. But the problem is when he puts it into the stomach area, he feels tension in his stomach. As I said, that's going to happen. Your stomach is going to get upset if you're focusing on it. So I recommend never to do that. But then he also says, well, if I try to let go or open the hand of thought, when I put some attention focus into that, it seems to work a lot better. And I don't have this tension in my stomach anymore. So he's got two different techniques he's toggling between here. I have had success with the focus in the abdomen, so I'm hesitant to stop that. But this letting go feeling I'm referencing is more spontaneous and in the moment type of feeling, and in line with what I have called Tathagata Zen, or making relations with the inside and outside world, which is another sort of Tathagata Zen phrase. Tathagata Zen is just the kind of Zen that my teacher taught, and he made it up. He made that word up. Nobody else uses that word. And I'm not going to get into that now. Okay. So he says, can I alternate between these two things as I go about my daily life? Is the keeping attention on abdomen kind of a first step, and then you move on to the opening hand of thought? While doing Zazen, should I try for one or the other? Okay, I took some time to talk about his email as I was reading it, and to unpack it, and to share it, because I want to get across, I think it's a beautiful email, and it almost perfectly captures a kind of a stage in practice. And by stage in practice, believe me, I don't mean he's an amateur and one day he's going to get to this exalted state. It's a stage in every sit that I do. It's a stage in every retreat that I attend. It's a stage where you're wondering, sorry, I'm about to sneeze, so I'm pressing my nostril, excuse me. I've been battling this cold for a while now. It's got me, but I'm going to get it in the end. It's just like when you sit down, I sit with my lovely girlfriend every day, and every time there's a little part of me that has to rejoin my practice, and I wonder how to do that. Do I let go of my thinking mind? Do I bring my attention to the hara? Do I focus? What do I do? So these are the techniques that we manifest in order to do our practice. And the question my friend is bringing up here is, what are the best techniques to give our energy to? So first of all, this is a pan-religious or spirituality problem or issue or question. Centering prayer is a practice within the Catholic faith, for example, developed by, I think, like 3 Catholic monks, one of whom was Father Thomas Keating, who actually did retreat with my teacher, Sasaki Roshi, and learned Zazen, single-pointed concentration focus practice, and used that to develop centering prayer. So in centering prayer, it is not a practice that replaces normal Catholic prayers like the ones you say in church and Mass, or the ones that you say when you're doing the rosary. It's just a technique that these Catholic monks developed to kind of help you have a relationship with God and Jesus in this moment right now. So you simply have a word, a holy word, Jesus, Mother Mary, and you bring all your attention and focus into that word. And you do not give energy to peripheral or ancillary thoughts or concerns, even if they're spiritual or religious. You are simply bringing your attention and focus into that word, Jesus, you know? That's a spiritual technique within the Catholic tradition. Another spiritual technique within the Catholic tradition is to go to Mass and to give your attention to the priest and to follow along in your Mass booklet and to participate as an observer and a participant in the ritual of Mass. That's another type of spiritual practice that I did for many years without a kid. I spent a weekend at a Zen center. The leader of that Zen center has a wife. The wife is a world-famous Sufi dervish. She's like one of the few females that's been allowed to practice within certain revered spaces in Turkey, the activity of the Whirling dervish. And so I spent a weekend in a workshop that she gave, and it was very interesting. I still remember you put your foot down, and you've got the axis. I wish I could show you this. My left foot was my axis, and it was solid. And then my right foot, the heel is up, and the balls of my toes are down. And you spin, and you spin, and you spin. And let me tell you, you get nauseous. Oh, I got so nauseous. But it's a type of focusing and letting go of your attentions. It's a spiritual technique. The technique, I believe it was the poet Rumi who developed it, or for sure he was the one that made it popular. And of course we have the beautiful pictures of the whirling dervishes and the myths and the poems about them. It's a technique for transcending yourself and experiencing the divine, if you will. There's Transcendental Meditation. My friend Brad Warner did a video about David Lynch and Transcendental TM meditation recently. My understanding of TM, which is minuscule, is that you get a mantra, and this mantra is specific to you. It costs a lot of money, and you speak it, you put your full energy, focus, and attention into that mantra. So these are all techniques that different religions, spiritual traditions give you to practice and develop yourself spiritually. And there are as many techniques out there and philosophies behind them as there are people on the internet. They are ubiquitous. They are everywhere. Everybody has a new technique or a tweak on the old techniques to make it the perfect thing that will help you, that will be a spiritual hack or a shortcut to let you cut ahead of the line and develop your spiritual practice at a breakneck pace. So this is something you have to be aware of. Like oftentimes, whether it's a new book or a new spiritual influencer, or a new class at that popular spiritual institutions that offers expensive weekend classes. A lot of time what you're getting is charismatic teachers, ambitious spiritual professionals who are repackaging sort of timeless techniques or packaging timeless spiritual principles into new techniques. I've got a family member who actually started a cult. Not a family member that I'm specifically related to. It's kind of a family member outside of several generations removed. But they actually started a cult in another country based on reheating some old Vedantic techniques. Dude's a multi-millionaire and a bit of a scam artist. As you probably know by now, I have a specific Zen point of view on the topic of spiritual techniques. Even the way I have framed this whole video, speaking of spiritual techniques, is sort of makes me show my hand, or betrays my bias, right? I mean, my relatives who are Catholic and who believe that Catholicism is the one true church would not call Mass a spiritual technique. For them, it's more vital than that. It is a ritual that they must participate in order to be included in the group of believers who will be allowed into heaven. So there is a lot of mental apparatus involved in that worldview, okay? Zen is very simple. Zen would take as I have learned it, takes a radical and a very egalitarian, a truly Catholic view in the sense of being broad-minded. Of course, I'm biased because I'm a lay Zen priest, but the way, for example, my mentor would put it, and he helped me understand what Zen practice was really about, he would say, look, the idea that the Catholics give you, that you gotta believe in Jesus, that you have to come and take the Holy Communion once a week, that you have to be free of mortal sins when you take Holy Communion, he would probably say, that's all just spiritual foreplay, if you will, to get you in the mood and get you in the room so that when you're there, you can participate fully in the ritual. But he would say the full participation in the ritual is all that matters. Giving yourself to the Mass and forgetting yourself when you're at Mass. That is the whole alpha and the omega of what Christianity, Catholicism has to offer. Like, if you can't dissolve yourself and lose yourself, you're not truly participating in a Catholic ritual. And the same would go for centering prayer or whirling dervish practice or Om chanting practice or TM, mantra chanting practice. Whatever your practice is, it's a technique with some serious, usually, philosophy or principles, tradition, lineage, and history behind it. It's a technique that you use to dissolve your ego or your separation from your surroundings. So in that sense, the tool also has to dissolve. The tool has to dissolve. In order for you to dissolve, you gotta dissolve into each other, right? That is all that is meant by that famous statement, if you meet the Buddha, kill the Buddha. There's always somebody farting or slapping somebody or calling somebody a used piece of toilet paper, or somebody behaving in a brute or irreverent manner in classical Zen stories. And all this is meant to do is to get us to let go of our precious techniques, okay? They call this letting go of the raft after you've crossed the shore. You don't need to take the canoe with you when you've gone from point A to point B. So this is a big difference, and it's a really important and in some ways a very difficult difference between Zen and other religions. Okay, just imagine for a moment what it might be like in certain regions of the world where there are people who identify very strongly with their religion. And there are people living right next door to them or within their own community who believe very strongly in a very different religion. Okay? Imagine if those peoples, I am not going to name names, would let go of their rafts, would let go of their techniques. And in this case, I'm I am calling religion a technique. Religion itself, religion itself is just a technique. The term, of course, in Sanskrit is upaya, or a skillful means. A means to do, a technique, a suite of practices and rituals, etc., to help us connect to the divine, or dissolve our egos, or both. So, of course, we can begin to see where I'm going with this, and it is radical. Zen is radical. If you let go of the technique, if the techniques are not truly important in Zen, if we should, metaphorically speaking, kill the Buddha when we meet the Buddha, because if we meet the Buddha, it's not the Buddha, well then, just about anything can be a spiritual technique. Why not? Sitting down on the toilet can be a spiritual technique, or walking down the street can be a spiritual moment, or having a conversation with a friend. Do you mean to tell me, Mr. lay monk, lay priest, that anything, any normal, mundane, stupid, pathetic moment in my tiny, totally just me-sized life is an opportunity to experience something really special? The point of being here on planet Earth? These rando moments of my one precious true life? You mean that this is the point? You mean that I don't have to go to Mass even? Or this special retreat at Spirit Rock Meditation Center that costs me $2,000 a weekend? You mean I can just... Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm pointing all this out because I spent many years at a Zen Buddhist monastery, and I've devoted my life to it. And oh boy, I really learned every fine point about koan practice, monastic practice, zazen. Exactly how to hold my mudra. Knuckles, lining them up. The pressure at which the two thumbs touch, which is to say, not much. How you hold it at your hara. What you're doing with your tongue, with your eyes, with the muscles in your face. I learned fully and completely every aspect of formal monastic Zen practice, every subcategory of every ritual. I learned all the koans. I passed a few, failed many, many more, so on and so forth. And it was like getting 3 doctorates in Zen. That's what I feel like. Those 13 years were like 3 doctorates in Zen. And when I left the monastery, I left my community. I left all that knowledge. I put it in a trunk, metaphorically speaking, and I sobbed into that trunk, and I drowned my knowledge in my tears, and then I padlocked the trunk, and I buried it in the earth. And I went down from that mountaintop with a shaved head, a pallid countenance, and no job, no girlfriend, no friends, no prospects, no nothing. I had a little bit of money, and I bought a car, and I just was homeless, basically. I started driving and thinking and smoking and doing the stuff I couldn't do at the monastery. And there were some real lonely, difficult nights. But I'd done my practice, and I knew now that I was traveling light, and I didn't have a monastery to hold all this knowledge that I had gained. And so I just had my shoulders. So what am I going to take with me? What am I going to take with me? And what I learned was every moment of my day is a door. It's a doorway to heaven. It's a doorway to everything beautiful, positive, transcendent that is spoken of in the sutras. Every single moment is, as they say at some Zen centers in America, a practice opportunity. You don't need a meditation hall. You don't need a Catholic basilica. You don't need however much they charge you for mantras at TM. All you need is a human life. And there are two aspects I have personally found, two qualities that I need in a moment to make it a practice. Okay, so I'm going to get this wrong, but I hope I can get this across as cleanly and as clearly as possible, because this is very personal, so I don't have linguistic apparatus with which to express it in the Zen tradition. This is just something I've figured out for myself. So I have to be awake, aware, and present. Sati, they call it. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Someone is always out there to correct me on my Sanskrit pronunciations. So do your job, Internet, in the comments section. S-A-T-I. It's a Sanskrit word that means present moment awareness. It can also refer to, I refer it to the term Buddha, which means awakened one. So it's a very big term, awakened, enlightened. But I know for myself, there are moments where I'm about to do something rote. I'm about to do something that is coming from my conditioning of anxiety or fear or ambition, greed, ignorance. I've got all this conditioning, but there are moments before I manifest from that conditioning there's an awakeness. And that awakeness, to incorrectly try and capture it here, I can see myself, and I can see the situation in front of me. So it's like pan awareness on the inside and awareness on the outside. Awareness of the situation, I don't know how else to put it. So there's awareness, right? And that's a beautiful moment. It's a gift from the universe, and it's something you develop over time through your spiritual practice or your focus practice is awareness. You learn to see, okay? So that's element or ingredient number one. Then element or ingredient number two is right after that, to not try and hold on to that awareness, but to give myself. So it's almost like the exact opposite. It's letting the awareness die, or it's dying into the situation that I am in, that doorway that I mentioned here in the regular world, dying into it completely and the correct way instead of from my conditioning. And I don't know exactly, it depends what the situation is. It could be anything. In one moment it could be walking out of a room, in another moment it could be staying in the room, right? It depends on the situation, okay? So when we do meditation practice, we are cultivating this ability to be awake and then to give that awake self away and be dead or unawake or die, to lose the self completely. It's like it's so there in one moment, and then it's gone when you give it away in the next moment. I hope that doesn't sound too abstract. I hope Zen is simple. There's few moving parts in Zen. That's what I was taught. And so it's always a question of simplifying. So my patron asked me, should I try and let go, or should I put my focus in my stomach? The practice is just to sit, and don't make it too complicated, and don't think too much. Let yourself feel your body. This is what I've been doing lately. You can't properly meditate or do zazen if you're trying to do zazen, okay? Zazen is not trying to do Zazen. Zazen is not trying to put your energy into your stomach, okay? Or not, Zazen is not trying to let go, because that's separating you from the activity in which you are practicing, which is the exact opposite of practice. Now, I know this is very paradoxical, but it's okay. It's okay. It's so simple, it becomes a paradox, right? So just to share my own personal practice, lately, brothers and sisters, friends and foes, I just fold this mother effer like this, and I sit on it, okay? And thoughts and feelings come up because I have a very vivacious inner life, okay? And it likes to torture me. And I let them wash over me like I'm lashed to a rock like Hercules, and these thoughts and feelings wash over me and whip my hair about and okay, been here before. And I do let myself feel completely where I am at, okay? And I'm breathing in. That is the foundation for my practice. That is the my North Star is breathing, right? Because you have to gently put your attention on something. But gentle isn't weak. Gentle is the strongest strength in the universe because you've connected. And it's like the touch of a mother. It can move Mount Sumu. It can knock it right on its ass. Gentleness is complete attention, okay? So, there's a very strong samurai spirit in Rinzai Zen, and it can be a little bit exhausting. You don't need to, as my teacher used to say, flare your nostrils like a stallion in heat chasing a mare. I will say that sort of practice oftentimes works for younger people who have a lot of energy and who just can't focus their mind. If you're in that space, you can do that kind of intense practice. Like if that's what you need to do to give yourself completely to the inhale and the exhale, go for it, right? But as I age and mellow and mature in my practice, I'm less about forcing myself into a certain difficult mental or physical position and using willpower to go from practice point A to practice point B. It's more about being fully and completely on the cushion in that moment with my body, with my surroundings as they are. And then there usually for me is a kind of awareness for what's going on inside me. It's like a snapshot. I'm here. And I can see where I've been at all day and the unconscious fears and joys and hopes and dreams and ambitions and selves I've been manifesting over and over. So I can see these ghosts of my inner life almost. And it's just it's just in an instant. And it's not thinking, it's never thinking, okay? It's just kind of an awareness, all right? And then that awareness kind of dissolves. And now my activity is to give myself gently and completely and sincerely and wholeheartedly back to just sitting. And if I get a little bit confused about what that means, exhale and inhale. That's always my anchor, okay? My teacher used to say, as I always say, what? He said, Zen has few moving parts. So you get up off that cushion where you've cultivated some awareness and some focus and some discipline, and you can use those spiritual techniques in your world, in your daily life. And in this way, your life becomes your practice. My beautiful girlfriend who loves to listen to Sabine Hossenfelder and Neil deGrasse Tyson. She's like an amateur scientist. We've got all these books laying around. She talks about how, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about how there are something like 100,000 million galaxies in the known universe. And there's something like 100,000 stars in our Milky Way. I don't know if I got those numbers right. The numbers are so mind-blowing, I can barely even say them. 100,000 million galaxies. And we're here in this one, in this moment, on this planet Earth, in these bodies, here with my little fig ficus, you know? Don't try and be anywhere else through any special spiritual practices that are going to deliver you into the seventh gate of the ionosphere of the bionic superheaven, or whatever the F that influencer on Instagram is trying to sell you. You were put here. You're here on this planet, in this solar system, in this human body to live a human life. That's what we're here for, you know? Like, don't miss the boat, baby. Don't miss the boat. Getting lost in techniques, you know? Dissolve through the techniques into the world around you. And through the techniques, let the world around you dissolve into you. And from that union, like the union of the sperm and the egg, a new self, a baby is born, as my teacher used to say. I'm out, baby. If you want to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/ShozanJackHobner. I want to take a moment to just thank my patrons very much. They provide me with much needed financial income to keep making these videos and to connect with people on YouTube and over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. I want to also thank people who keep making one-time or reoccurring donations through PayPal. There's a link in the video description below to PayPal. It's another great way to support this channel. I'm so grateful to be here on this round spinning globe in this, I don't know what this is, this strange, weird neighborhood in this particular solar system, in this particular galaxy, in this one great universe. I'm really happy to have the Patreon portion, the PayPal portion of this universe, to be participating in it with you. Okay, ciao.